Welcome back to another Epidose of these crazy people that just eat meat and wear ice bags on our head and can't stop talking about it. Today, Justin and I are exploring a new topic. Well, actually, we probably talked about it before a little bit, but we're doing a Justin special on migraines. So if you know anybody out there who might benefit from this, think about sending them the link to the video. That would help us, might help them. And make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and make sure you get the alerts too so you don't miss these shows. We usually try and crank out at least one long format, one short format video a week. Short format ones are called short ribs, and they're usually like 15, 20, maybe half an hour, and then the long formats are usually over an hour. So anyways, we hope you enjoy the channel. We hope you help us grow the channel. It's really important. We hope we get the message out there that changing what you can eat can make a big difference. And so without too much further ado, we'll let Justin explain what he's got on his head so he can take it off before he goes numb.
Yeah, hello. Hi, everyone. I wanted to kind of do a special presentation on migraine medications and their risks. I really don't see a lot of people talking about this. This video was actually inspired by a coworker of mine who's actually younger than me, who's taking one of the newer medications that's like a shot in the leg. And she was talking about how, well, she hopes this time she doesn't have like a bruise on her leg for a month. And so I just thought that was kind of interesting. Migraines are a big condition. We'll go over a little bit of the stats. That was my primary reason for coming to carnivore, low carb. You guys know I do the Angelo-statin protocol, more or less still. And not really going to delve into that stuff today, more about just medications and the risks, because, it's the argument that all of us in the carnivore community that have seen healing from changing our diet is we have to continually prove that doing this is better for you overall than the medications or what other things that doctors or others might prescribe. And so, what's the reason, for not taking a medication? I mean, some of them are easy, like financial. Some medications are expensive, but you're not told. I think doctors are pretty bad at telling people the risks of the medications that they take, especially over time. When you start delving into this stuff in pharmacology and pharmaceuticals, you realize that a lot of studies are short-term studies, different participants with different interactions. And so, although nor I think your doctor nor me or any of us could tell you exactly what's going to happen when you take a certain medication and for however many years, and many people like me begin migraines sometimes as early as children, sometimes in their teens, sometimes in late adulthood, but people are oftentimes taking these medications for decades, as it seems to be with all medications now. It seems that once a person is prescribed a medication, they're essentially on it for life. And so I think it's important to delve into and go into what that means for people going forward through their life while taking this medication. And the silly hat that I'm wearing at the beginning of the video is, this is the ice beanie. At the end of what I was going to talk about as far as medications, I did want to go over some natural remedies that people might consider incorporating, whether or not they consider a carnivorous diet while they wean off medications or possibly try to get off medications, because I know how debilitating getting off how debilitating migraines are. And I think more people might be inclined to reduce or not take the medication, or possibly change the diet if they have a buffer in between while they make the transition, so they don't have to go maybe cold turkey off medication, but not cold turkey off having to just suffer from migraines and still miss out on life. Changing your life is never convenient, but I do want to give people a path to where make it tolerable, because if you're in too much pain, you're just going to go back to the medication, and you're going to be more afraid of making that leap again. So I understand that. So that's the reason for including the ice beanie and a few other alternatives that I'm going to talk about in the end. But for now, the silly hat is going away and the blue blocking glasses are going back on, which again, talking about things that are non-medication that relieve headaches. The Theraspec, blue blocking or photosensitive glasses have really helped me even before going carnivore. So there you go. You guys get that one for free. But I say we can go ahead and begin. So for those that don't know, migraine, here it claims it as a serious, potentially life-threatening neurological disease that affects nearly 36 million people. I'm not quite sure where they get the potentially life-threatening from. There's no link there. And so my guess is...
You want to tell people what you're looking at?
Yeah, so this is from rxlist.com/migraine_medications. Yeah.
You want me to share that, or are you going to share it?
You can share it. And so, the typical symptoms, debilitating headache that is unbearable, sensitivity to light, sound, sometimes nausea and vomiting. Some people get visual disturbances known as aura, flashing lights, zigzag lines, or temporary blindness. Sometimes there's even slurred speech. Vertigo can also occur. Tiredness, fatigue. So when they say it's life-threatening, my guess is they don't mean direct cause. My assumption is, blindness, vertigo while you're driving, getting one could be dangerous. You could get in a car wreck, hurt yourself, hurt someone else. Across time, some speculate that because of the dilation of the blood vessels in the brain, could have like an aneurysm and pass away. Many people, when they experience their first migraine, often thinks they're getting a tumor or have a tumor in their brain, which, although technically possible, oftentimes is not the case. For better or worse, it's a migraine. Some would consider brain cancer being easier to treat than migraines, depending on who you ask. Most people, when they first get their migraine, they usually just start with simple over-the-counter analgesics, such as acetaminophen or anti-inflammatories like naproxen or ibuprofen. So these are just your over-the-counter. Usually growing up, you have a fever, a cold, something like that. So acetaminophen is just Tylenol, for those that don't know. I remember I've taken it all. So I would take, what was it? The Tylenol Super Strength or something like that. That was like 800 milligrams. I would take those for my headaches. I would, of course, take Excedrin migraine, which is acetaminophen with caffeine. And then I would also sometimes, occasionally, if my mom or stepdad had them around, ibuprofen's 800s. And I would take one or two of those as well. So I've been down that track. And the reason for starting with the analgesics is because they're not prescription. You can just go and take them. Because they're over the counter, I think many of us think that it's not harmful or very low. Like you don't need a prescription for it. You can just buy it. Everyone takes it. So it must just only do good and not really harm the body, when that is actually not true. In fact, ibuprofen, and I think all of these can actually put holes in your stomach and your gut lining. I remember Excedrin, I got to the point of taking it where I would just get severe stomach pains, and ibuprofen. I completely inflamed my stomach from taking so many analgesics, whether it was, like I said, the Tylenol, the ibuprofen, or Excedrin, that it really caused some serious stomach issues for me. And I definitely overdid it with it. And, you got to understand those. I was a college student. I was 20. I was trying to live life. And as we'll get into, the stronger prescription migraine medications, they kind of knock you out, make you dizzy. Um, and they're just not a lot of fun. You're basically not functional when you take them. And so oftentimes, even if you have the prescription medication approved by a doctor, you will still opt for the over-the-counter medications just because it's not going to knock you out. And I remember thinking, when I would take something like Excedrin, and this is even when it started hurting my stomach, that like, well, I can deal with the stomach pain. I can't deal with the head pain and the dizziness. And so, yeah, I would just deal with it. I was like, if my stomach hurts, I can deal with it. That's fine. Which obviously that's not fine. Tom, did you have something you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I know I'd heard that. One of the problems is we don't realize how hard something like acetaminophen or Tylenol could be on our bodies. But I was looking at this article on the American Council on Science and Health. I don't really know what that organization is, but they're claiming that I'm trying to see what year it was, but they're saying, like 450 people a year die just from acetaminophen poisoning, but they also claim it's the leading cause of liver damage in the United States,
Yeah. So
which a lot of
even
people would be surprised to know, I think. Right.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I said like the over the counter, we just automatically think it's safe. I mean, any typical office job, any typical job, any first aid kit has Tylenol, has Motrin, which I think very rare to occasional use is probably okay. But, I think on the bottle it says do not take for more than 2 weeks straight or something like that. So they finally put that on there. But
Yeah, I mean you get a bottle of this stuff and it says read the label first, and I remember being younger and it's like every time you got a headache or you didn't get enough sleep and you felt like crap or whatever, just take some
hungover.
yeah, hangover or whatever. Just take some aspirin, take Tylenol, take whatever, ibuprofen, blah, blah, blah. It was for everything, everything from a sore toe to a sore head or whatever. And it never thought about them being harmful. It's like, oh yeah, you can take a couple, it won't hurt you. Just take 4 of them, it won't hurt you, it'll be fine. People do it all the time. And then you find out that, causes liver damage or burns a hole in your stomach or whatever.
Yeah, they're not great for you. Yeah, I stay away now. I probably haven't taken any in 3 or 4 years, 5 years, something like that. It would probably just upset my stomach again. So yeah, I caution away, but I get it. If you're transitioning for some of these stronger medications and you need it, it might be an okay step down.
Yeah, and not to get too far afield, but a lot of people heard this idea that taking aspirin every day prevent heart attacks or whatever. And I know people who do that, and it's like, well, even though you're taking a baby aspirin, you've never had a heart attack, and the effectiveness of that strategy is not played out, right? So if you've already had a heart attack, it might be beneficial in preventing another one, but people have not had a heart attack, in fact, people with no evidence of any heart disease, you probably shouldn't be taking that aspirin because they're seeing all kinds of side effects, including gastric bleeding and stuff like that. So we don't get sick from an absence of aspirin, right?
Right. Typically not. We're
We
not aspirin, acetaminophen, or ibuprofen deficient.
right.
Uh, and so, just a little bit more about migraine. In part, it's because of dilation of blood vessels in the brain. So you have these swelling, inflamed blood vessels, which, if you read the Angelo-Statin literature or user protocol, the theory is that it's due to a sodium channel blockage, basically. and your neurons aren't firing properly, not able to jump across dendrites, and causing a cascade of effects in the brain, leading to inflammation and dilation of your blood vessels in your brain. So yeah, like me, at some point, a migraine sufferer may need move on to preventative therapy and abortive medications. So now this is interesting. No migraine drugs specifically prevent migraines, but many drugs used for other conditions can help keep migraines at bay. These include certain blood pressure medications. So, you're talking about the dilation of the blood vessels. That's why they might prescribe like a blood thinner, as well as some antidepressants, anti-seizure drugs, and herbals. So we've got antidepressants, your anticonvulsants, your antihistamines, and your narcotics. So yes, there are people that, and this was, so for those that aren't aware of the show, there's a fantastic show that came out this year, about a month ago, or a couple months ago, called Dope Sick on Hulu, about the opioid epidemic in, Appalachia, the Rust Belt, that area. It's a fantastic show, but at one point, I don't think it happens too much anymore, but where people were prescribed, Oxycontin for migraines, because of the pain. And I think in the show, there is one patient that's prescribed that. And for those that don't know what Oxycontin is, although I'm sure you do, that is heroin, it's legal heroin, essentially. And then, but I think there's people that are prescribed morphine, morphine tablets for migraines and things like that. So we're talking about some serious medications here. So different types. So the first kinds of major migraines is first, drugs that abort or stop migraines from progressing once they begin. The earlier these drugs are used for migraine attack, the better they work. So these are like your triptans typically. And it's really funny them mentioning the earlier these drugs are used, the better they work. Although I assume that's true, and I've talked about this before. When you get a migraine, when you have migraines and you're prescribed these medications, they're very controlled. You're only allowed 9 tablets a month typically, or 9 pills. And so it's so ridiculous that they're required to be taken earlier. And as I said, the side effects, which we'll get more into in a bit, make it to where you end up in these situations where you're like, okay, do I want to keep enjoying this birthday party? Well, I'm starting to have this migraine, but it's not too bad yet, and I'm still functional. Or do I want to leave this birthday party or this event, or leave work early and go take the medication? Because when I take the medication, I probably shouldn't be driving as well. And so you end up, although you're directed to take it as soon as you get the migraine, in practice, many of us migraineurs wait to the last minute to where we're debilitated by the migraine before we take it, thus reducing the effectiveness. So it's really pernicious that that's in the instructions. And I get it, if that's the way it works, but it's just not practical day to day in your life. And the second category contains drugs that prevent migraines from happening. Of course, again, the over-encounters, you've got aspirin, naproxen, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, or at the bottom, it's great, or a combination of these. So yeah, sometimes, I'm not sure if I ever did it, but yeah, I mean, I know people that would take, a Motrin with the naproxen. I mean, you end up just making all these cocktails just to make the damn pain and nauseous or whatever go away. So yeah, so there is what's called rebound headaches. And this is typically due to the overuse of the over-the-counter stuff. So, and the brain starts to adjust. And so the first time you ever get a migraine, you might take like an ibuprofen 600, it might go away. You might let it go the next day, be fine. But oftentimes what happens is people that, like me, that become reliant on these, you end up in this cycle where, and the reason for this cycle is that these drugs actually deplete hydration, mess with your sodium channels, mess with the minerals in your body, which is, again, root cause So why do we think the carnivore diet works? Because we're getting those minerals, those nutrients, and cutting down the body overall inflammation and metabolic health. So when you're taking these medications, you're further depleting your brain of nutrients, of minerals, of electrolytes. And so, which is why in a day or two later, 3 days, something like that, you end up with it back and you end up having to take it again. And you just end up with this nasty cycle. So yeah, some non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, and again, the narcotics, the worst would be like Oxycontin. So sometimes people are prescribed a barbiturate. I never was. And then caffeine can help. The reason why is that it restricts do. So barbiturates are a sedative that may be useful to help people sleep off the pain. So barbiturate, I think something like Xanax. Basically your hypnotics would be like a barbiturate. So yeah, and people have gotten all different kinds of trouble. You know, people take their Lunesta, their sleep med. I think starts with the T again. I did actually take this, but not for migraines. Man, it's at the tip of my tongue. It'll come back to me. But you end up having really weird, like just people that would tweet or whatever after taking one of these sleep meds or something like that. Trazodone, that's the one I'm thinking of. I think trazodone is a barbiturate, if I remember right. So while analgesics, NSAIDs, narcotics relieve pain, they don't address the underlying physiology, primarily the dilation of blood vessels in the brain. And that's what these two, the next coming types of medications are: ergotamines and triptans, ergot alkaloids such as ergotamine and dihydrogetamine are an injection or a nasal spray, are potent drugs that construct blood vessels. Because nausea is a possible side effect of these migraine drugs, some people take ergotamines in combination with other drugs to prevent nausea. So I did have one migraine nasal spray. And I remember, I think I had to do two, like each nasal spray is like one dose. And I think I had to do two to get rid of the migraine. So, and the reason why I was prescribed that was because of damage from the NSAIDs and the triptans. So with me, triptans, and it could be again because of the damage from the NSAIDs, would cause me great stomach distress. And so I went to my neurologist and I was telling her how the triptan was causing me great intestinal inflammation, great intestinal distress. And so she switched it up and gave me the migraine nasal spray. But it just wasn't as effective, at least for me. I think if I were to roll things back, I think I would probably prefer the nasal spray over something that messes with the gut lining in my stomach. But just a suggestion, again, harm reduction. So triptans, this is what I took for years, target serotonin receptors. These drugs cause construction of blood vessels and bring about a general interruption in the chain of chemical events that lead to migraines. Triptans include almotriptan, elatriptan, frovatriptan, naratriptan, rizatriptan. So rizatriptan is actually one that I have taken. Maxalt, it was very effective for me. I think it was new on the market when I had my migraines a little over a decade ago. The first one I had was actually, it was a dissolvable, which made it really easy on me. But I remember when I would take it, yeah, my tongue would go numb, my jaw would clench. I'd have pins and needles throughout my body. I couldn't eat for like a good hour or like hour and a half. And so sometimes I'd end up, and then yeah, so sometimes I'd end up in this weird situation where, I'm out with my girlfriend or out with family or whatever, or I'm just hungry, but I have a migraine. And so I'm like, okay, uh, do I stay hungry, take the triptan, take a nap, um, and then eat? Or do I eat so I'm not hungry, then take the triptan, and then go to sleep? So these medications, they just make it so difficult to run your life, to be quite honest. And yeah, so you just end up in these weird situations when it comes to these medications. I also took sumatriptan. That was the last one I was on, also known as Imitrex. That one was just a straight pill form, very similar weird side effects, pins and needles, some weird numbness. You just get all these weird feelings. Now remember, these are constricting the blood vessels in your brain. And so it's going to cause all these other deleterious effects throughout your body. And that's what happened to me. Now, these new ones, to drug porn, is a combination of product containing the vasoconstrictor isothiopentine mucate, the sedative dichlorothiazone, and analgesic acetaminophen. And this is known as Midrin. My sister took Midrin. I never took Midrin, but this is some heavy stuff. So you have a vasoconstrictor, which just means it constricts the blood vessels. It's a sedative, so it kind of knocks you out, and it's a pain reliever. And so, the FDA, I guess, is still under review for that. But that's some heavy stuff. So, the more drug concoctions you have, to me, I'm thinking the more interactions, the more possible side effects you could have, is my guess. Hey, Tom, I don't know if it's just on my screen, but you're sharing. It's very small, so I don't think anyone can actually read what you're sharing, at least the way that I'm seeing it, because I'm reading from my own that I have on my side. Just wanted to make that comment, just in case the if you can blow it up for the viewers. Yeah, there you go. That's much better. Yeah, we're at Midrin. So sometimes antihistamines can work just for the inflammatory response. I never really took it for that. So these are kind of new. These are interesting. So your calcitonin gene related peptide, which are called CGRP antagonists, are a newer type of migraine medication. So CGRP is a neuropeptide which neurons use to communicate. Discovered in the 80s, seems to play a key role in migraine. Not entirely understood how CGRP causes the pain in migraines. One theory is that CGRP sensitizes peripheral nerves, which in turn send signals to the central nervous system that trigger the pain and sensitivity to sensory stimulation associated with migraine. This may occur because when CGRP binds to its receptors, it sensitizes the nerves by increasing their rate of firing. CGRP might also activate pain receptors by dilating blood vessels, which could push on pain receptors on adjacent nerves. So there are two kinds of CGRP antibodies. So monoclonal antibodies. I'm probably going to completely butcher all these, but eptinezumab, erinab, or amivig, firmenzumab, Ajovi, which I think I've seen the commercial for, and galcanezumab. And you got a couple of oral different ones, which are older CGRP. So it says they have fewer side effects and other migraine meds often work where others have failed. I'm not going to get too much into preventatives. I really reacted poorly to my preventative when I attempted to take it. So certain blood pressure medications, but it's a combination of basically blood pressure medications, antidepressants, anti-seizure, and some herbals. And let's see, kind of gets a little sketchy here. So Topamax is one my sister's taken. She said that's really helped her out. Topamax, if I remember right, is also for bipolar. And there is like a 25% overlay correlation between people that have migraines and bipolar disorder. Not quite sure what the link is there, but that's true for my sister that takes Topamax. So her Topamax that she takes actually helps treat both her bipolar and her migraines, which is kind of interesting.
Did Emily ever have migraines?
I believe not. Like I said, it's about like a quarter overlap between bipolar and migraines.
It's
I mean,
funny. The other day, my sister was texting me about topo maps because she was working on a project for a civil engineering project, and it kept coming up Topomax, and I was like, "What the hell is Topomax? And why is it a word?" Now I just found out. So
yeah, so it kind of just goes on like this. I'm not familiar with all these other kind of medications just because I've never taken them. I mean, but as you can see, when it comes to migraines, they're pretty much throwing everything at it and the chicken sink. You know, not just pain relievers, not just hypnotics, not just
pretty,
anti-seizure.
I'm pretty sure you just said the chicken sink.
The kitchen sink, fine. Well, I'm carnivore, so it's the chicken sink.
See, children, this is why drugs are bad.
Right. Like I said, I've had family members take some of these, you know, your beta blockers, your calcium channel blockers, tricyclic antidepressants, other antidepressants, so paroxetine, Paxil, fluoxetine, Prozac, Sertrail, Zoloft, and Topamax is also anti-seizure. Gabapentin, which gabapentin is oftentimes prescribed to those with diabetes for neuropathy. I think I was prescribed Neurontin, and I reacted really weird to it. Depakote, I know my stepfather was on because he had seizures, so he was on the Depakote. So yeah, as you can see, this is just, the list just is innumerable of different things and different concoctions of things. So, you know, your doctor might put you on an antidepressant and an anti-seizure, you know, and you might still be taking Excedrin from time to time and a beta blocker. Like, it gets really crazy.
I like how they got coenzyme 10 and magnesium listed as herbals.
Right, those are those are vitamins. Well, they're electrolytes. So I did actually have good, I just want to take a second, and I was going to go more into this, but I'll mention it here. Good results with doing feverfew, butterbur, coenzyme Q10, and magnesium. I did used to take all of that, and that did help reduce them, and that did work for me. It's hard, you know, you have to find good sources of feverfew and butterbur, and they're backed up by so-called studies or whatever. So, but for me, it actually was effective, even when my diet wasn't changed that much. And again, back to the monoclonal antibodies. So here's some of the side effects of triptan. So tingling, sleepiness, flushing, throat and chest tightness. I kind of felt that, like, again, I would have that weird nervousness in my tongue, or tightness in my tongue, really, really weird. So this is the most common side effect of ergotamines is nausea. Side effects of beta blockers is fatigue, depression, nausea, insomnia, dizziness, low blood pressure, calcium. Now, in reading all these, this is why I say, and you could be on one of each of these or a few of these, you know, so I just want people to think about that. So a calcium channel blocker, weight gain, constipation, dizziness, low blood pressure, tricyclic Antidepressants, weight gain, dry mouth, sedation, decreased libido. That's not fun, right? Other antidepressants may also cause weight change and decreased libido. The side effects of anti-seizure medications depend on the drug. So like divalproex sodium, which I think is, we just went over it, dopa, freaking Depakote, there you go, which I believe is Depakote, is diarrhea, dizziness, drowsiness, hair loss, ringing in the ears, visual changes, shakiness, unsteadiness, weight changes, gabapentin, drowsiness, dizziness, unsteadiness, fatigue, visual changes, dry mouth, weight gain, nausea, constipation. Now, this is where I go back to, well, if you're going to deal with all that, you're still not really functional. If your libido's low, you're dizzy, you're kind of got nervousness, your mouth's dry all the time, you're gaining weight, you got nausea. You know, side effects of topiramate include weakness, fatigue, drowsiness, dizziness, confusion, difficulty concentrating, tingling in hands and feet, loss of appetite, diarrhea, impotence, weight loss, right? Not fun. The side effects of associated with herbals used for migraines include burping and gastrointestinal issues. So
is there any medication that does not pose a risk of diarrhea? Because I haven't seen one yet.
Right.
But I draw my line at bloody diarrhea. I'm just saying.
Now, the CGRP antagonists have fewer side effects, at least in here, but I might be able to counteract that. So these are, again, those monoclonal antibodies. So pain at injection site and constipation, supposedly. In 2006, the FDA warned about combining triptan drugs with selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors and selective neuronephrin reuptake inhibitors, your SSRIs and your SNRIs. Taking the drugs together could cause an overload of serotonin in the body, causing what is known as serotonin syndrome. Symptoms of this life-threatening condition include a rapid increase in blood pressure, fast heart rate, and increased body temperature. So that's basically with a triptan and, like I said, one of these SSRIs. And these are just some of the SSRIs, SRNIs. And it just kind of goes on and on and on. I think I've pretty much gotten out of here. Obviously, pregnancy. You know, sometimes they just recommend taking Tylenol if you're pregnant for the most part. And then possibly triptans. So yeah, there's more here. Breastfeeding, yeah, it can get really intense. I guess I can share the screen because I'm going to kind of move through this stuff kind of fast now. Did you have a comment, Tom?
I was wondering what you had to say about intense breastfeeding, because that's the last thing you said.
Not intense breastfeeding. I was just saying, and there's more side effects with breastfeeding as well. Whoops, I just messed this up. Did I? Can you still see it? I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. This is just a website of one of the those monoclonal antibodies, and you know, it's supposed to reduce the risk of the days in them, of your actual migraine days. I think to qualify for even one of these, if I remember right, you have to have 15 days or more a month of migraines. So sorry, if you only get 14 days of horrible migraine a month, you won't qualify, or your insurance won't pay for it or something like that. So I'm just curious if they have the cost of the medication here. My coworker, my friend, she had to fight with her insurance company to get them to approve this as well.
You want me to see if I can find the, oh, there it is.
There it is, yeah.
This price.
So the list price is $638.77 per month is the list price. So, and of course, you know, you get Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance companies, all that stuff, but $638 if, you know, for whatever reason it gets denied or not approved or whatever, everyone's insurance is different. Or like I said, you don't qualify for it. That's a big chunk of change out of pocket. So not a lot of fun. And then on their website, I think they have some patient info. Oh, it's just this PDF. And there's a whole bunch of neat side effects and things like that with it. Rash, different kind of symptoms. See, they have more of the allergic reactions, subcutaneous, the constipation, high blood pressure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I got a family member who was put on a completely different type of medication, but a newer medication, and the list price is something like $5,000 a month.
So this is just something from WebMD that most people opt out of taking prescribed medications due to concerns about treatment side effects. Patients also reported more intense, longer lasting headaches when they did not take their medications correctly. 2/3 delayed or avoided taking their current prescription medication because of treatment side effects. Of those taking triptans, the most commonly prescribed drugs for recurring headache pain, patients listed sleeplessness and fatigue, racing heartbeat, nausea, and difficulty thinking as common side effects. So it's many different people. So here's 10 now I will admit this is a biased website. So this information is coming from an herbal company, Migraine, which I looked at their product and it's not too bad. But they list supposedly top 10 Topamax side effects that are worse than migraines. This is published in supposedly June 2013. Again, take this with a grain of salt. This is a biased source. Blindness, vision problems, such as myopia, glaucoma are listed as a potential side effect of even short-term Topamax use. Dementia, cognitive impairment is one of the most common side effects associated with Topamax in migraine patients, causing mental confusion, memory loss, and an inability to concentrate. Mental illness, migraine patients who use Topamax are twice as likely to suffer emotional distress as non-Topamax users. Now, there's no links here. Maybe there's a source at the bottom. Fetal toxicity, babies conceived or born to mothers using Topamax for migraine headaches or epilepsy have an increased risk of cleft lip, cleft palate, cranial facial defects, and reduced fetal weights. Hyperammonemia may cause the increase of ammonia in the blood, a condition that may lead to brain injury or death. Kidney stones. Migraine sufferers use long-term Topamax treatments are at risk for excruciatingly painful kidney stones. I think that might be because it messes with the calcium channels, but I'm not quite sure. As a precaution, drink about 100 ounces of water each day. Sounds a bit high. I think I drink about 100 ounces of water a day. I'll be honest. Yeah, I do actually. But I drink a lot of frickin' water, probably too much. Mobility problems. Topamax may cause damage to the nervous system, resulting in difficulty controlling muscle movement, poor hand-eye coordination, and constant painful numbness. Heart attack-like symptoms. Topamax users linked this with an increase in visits to the ER for symptoms that mimic heart attacks, such as chest pain and palpitations, because migraines are associated with increased risk of heart attack. Topamax users need to be extra careful in monitoring their cardiovascular health. Seizures. So one of the things that weren't listed when I read off is that my neurologist, we kind of really started this whole journey for me, was my neurologist with the triptan. She said at the rate I was taking my pills, I would end up with seizures in 20 years. So I was 20 when I started, and she said by age 40, I would have seizures. So yeah, because topiramate is an anti-seizure drug, migraine patients who try to wean off Topamax may suffer seizures as part of withdrawal symptoms. Even migraine headache sufferers who have never experienced an epileptic seizure before may begin to experience seizures during the onset of the weaning program. And carcinogenesis, mice that were given Topamax as part of a scientific trial were more likely to develop urinary bladder tumors in those given the placebo drug. Again, we know about mice trials, again, bias source. Thought it was interesting to throw out there still. And the last thing I wanted to go on, I'm actually not going to share the screen for just because it's kind of protected information. But this is from the Angela-Statin group. So another thing about medications, so for those, this is a warning, and me and Tom should really do either a short ribs or a whole video on this because it's really important information for people to know. There are actually certain medications that are contraindicated for a state of ketosis. And so one of those is actually Topamax. So Topamax has an FDA warning label to not take it while in ketosis. So if you are on Topamax or thinking about taking it, just make sure that I probably couldn't go full carnivore, although I'm not sure, maybe carnivore with some milk. That me and Tom, like I said, we'll have to do our research and figure out how to help people that may be on medications that may interact poorly with ketosis. So CGRP inhibitors, so that was again the new ones. Those are those monoclonal antibodies, have 29 days long half-life. A single dose takes 3 to 6 months of time to clear out of your system. Let's see, receptor. So the CGRP inhibitor is a receptor on just about every single organ in your body. It is a receptor inhibitor. That means that it inhibits the entry of many things. It is a major cause for health concerns because many people have seriously gotten hurt. It is also clear that CGRP inhibitors and all the other meds, including triptans, block proper hydration. Therefore, while you're on them, this is according to the Angela-Statin protocol, full migraine relief is not going to happen. Some medications interfere with other blocks. It's hard to see what in the specific case. So we recommend blah, blah, blah. Okay, sorry. We know that Topamax both blocks, it's a voltage gated calcium and sodium channel blocker, as well as shown serious interactions with ketosis. Again, the CGRP inhibitors are extremely dangerous. Some of the adverse reactions are heart damage. Many migraineurs were placed on hypertensive drugs because it increased pancreatic damage, blocks all self anti-inflammatory mechanisms. Many migraineurs need progesterone course each month with the injection, loss of hair, bronchitis, pneumonia, IBS, GI issues, and at least 50 other conditions. Yeah, so that was the new one. So they say it's safer, but when you dig into the CGRP, I just want people to do their own research. I know that was kind of an anonymous source, but you know, in doing research for this video, it's hard to find it. It's hard to find good research on these things. I think the medical establishment and the drug companies, I mean, they're, you know, I'm gonna again lean on the show Dope Sick of, so if those that don't know how a medication gets made, FDA approval, and moved on to market, it takes millions and millions of dollars of research to get a medication on market. You know, you know, which is good and bad. It's good because there is a lot of hoops for people to jump through in order to get their medication approved. But, and this would go for any of us, once somebody or a company or an investor has sunk $1 million, $2 million on, and reason why they're sinking that money in is because they're going to double or triple their money, right? And so they sink millions of dollars into investment into creating this medication. And then they've invested so much that if it doesn't pan out, it could make a drug company go completely out of business. And so then you get into, well, if we just spend another 500,000 on fudging some trials, oftentimes drug companies are allowed to do their own trials. So you spend 500,000 on trials, take some FDA reps, out to lunch, throw another 10,000 there, have some drug set reps, push the drug, it's a racket. It really, really is. And so because of that, because of how much money is at stake for a medication being prescribed, and migraine patients, like I said, there's no mention on here, and there's no mention of most doctors, neurologists, of taking you off these medications. I was lucky to have a neurologist that was somewhat open to it, that at least knew a little bit. But once you're a patient, that's money for life. That's continued stocks, that's continued growth, that's investment to possibly a new medication, which can make you even more money. And so these drug companies, they don't want alternatives. They don't want these people to know how possibly dangerous these medications might be. Most people signing up for the CGRP, they don't know the heart damage that might be down the road. My friend that's taking it, she's 26 years old, I believe, and she's taking it now. And I don't know. Hey, she could get lucky. Maybe she'll be okay in the next 30 years. I don't know though. And so oftentimes when we sign on to a medication, we're oftentimes not told that we're going to be on it for life. I know I never was, but once you start sourcing it out, Tom, I believe the medications you were on for your psoriasis, your assumption at the time, I'm guessing, was that you were going to be on them for life.
Yeah, sure. I expected to be put on more, really, because I was putting off the one medication they say protects your joints.
The
I forget,
injection,
I forget the name of it, but I was kind of putting all that off and fully expecting they're going, well, it's time, and of course there's the issue too of they start, when you got really bad crippling pain, they start injecting cortisone into your joints, and of course eventually that causes the joints to deteriorate even faster, and then you're down to joint replacements, which we covered in another video, right? So why don't you take it back to eating meat? You talked about the potential problems with taking the medication, and just for new people who maybe are new to our channel and just came here because we're discussing migraines, why don't you tell them about eating meat a little bit?
Yeah, so I threw away all my medications, my triptans, July 5th of last year, and I haven't looked back. And the reason why I was able to and willing to do that was because of all the recovery from the carnivore diet. I really don't get the migraines anymore. I get them occasionally, yes, but they're not nearly as bad. And I either need sleep, salt, or beef, and then it usually takes care of it. And so why does it work? Well, although the mechanisms, again, just like the medications, right? We get blamed because people are like, oh, you're cured, but you don't know why you're cured or why it's working exactly. And it's like, well, even these damn medications, they don't know why it works exactly. So why are we held to a higher standard than the drug manufacturers? I see that as being a little bit unfair. But
yeah, and in all fairness, if you try and use the word cure or something like that, you just open a can of worms. So
remission.
we just like to say that the problems we had seem to be going away, and if we went back to eating the way we used to, they'd probably come back, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we don't know exactly. I mean, in a general sort of terms, we think that as human beings evolved from the other hominids, we were primarily eating meat, right? We were primarily eating the meat of large ruminants, so large animals that mostly ate things like grass. A good example is a woolly mammoth. We ate a lot of woolly mammoths, And so today our analog for that is a cow. So we tend to eat a lot of beef. And for some reason, when we take the other stuff out of the diets, primarily plant-based foods, a lot of our problems seem to go away. At least they start improving, and our quality of life goes up. We need less medication. In Justin's case, he basically didn't need any of his medications anymore. So a lot of people go low carb or keto or carnivore, and then they're able to talk to their doctor about reducing their medications at the very least. And I'm sure Justin's point in a general sort of terms was just that all these medications have side effects, have expenses, and at the end of the day, they may not, you may be on them for something for many years and then they don't work anymore too. So finding other reasons, and nobody's too surprised when you have an animal and you say, oh, I took that animal evolved to eat this and we put it on a different diet and it didn't do so good. Who's surprised by it? So it's really kind of more, that's kind of more of the our understanding of it than it just being like some miracle cure or something like that. It's just we eat the wrong foods, so we have more problems.
Yeah, absolutely agree. There's some metabolic causes, again, sodium channels. Again, for other videos, I've talked about all of that. But yeah, I just want to make people aware of the risks of taking these medications, whether some of them might be overblown. I know some of it isn't sourced. But yeah, just think about it. And, I get it. Changing your diet is difficult. But I'm telling you, $628 buys a lot of steaks, even ribeye, even at the price of steaks now, And so if you're spending that much on medication or how much on insurance or doctor's appointments and the other thing. So this was a set of medications to treat one disorder, one illness, migraines, right? Many people that come to carnivore or not suffer from more than just one issue. Sometimes they got IBS. Like me, I had chronic sinus infections and some chronic pain and some other things that have also relieved. And so I don't see myself having to go to the doctor. So that's more days I'm able to work. That's more I'm able to do. And so, yeah, I get it. Changing your diet is expensive on the front end. Maybe you just bought a chocolate cake and you're sitting down with it in your hand, and this video somehow makes it to your feed. You click on it, you have migraines, and you're looking at your chocolate cake and you're like, shit, I just spent $8 on this or whatever. And you don't know what to do with it now. And I get it, going through your fridge, throwing everything away, maybe having family members that might not want you to do that. Having a difficult conversation with your doctor, like, hey, I saw this geeky kid on YouTube and he was talking about all these different medications and side effects, and maybe that's a conversation that you need to have or want to have. I get it. It's expensive on the front end, but on the back end, you save so much money. I mean, some of us eat only twice a day, although me and Tom might be moving that up to 8 times a day, different video. And but just the other quality of life, the quality of health stuff, saying bye-bye to diabetes if you're on that track. And it just, then you don't have to take gabapentin for your leg and gangrene. I mean, that was horrific. Onto a different video, but Sean Baker, if you follow Sean Baker on Instagram, Sean Baker 67, right? He posted this gnarly picture of a knee replacement where I wish we would have had that for our video as the thumbnail or something. It would have been amazing.
Yeah, so this poor guy's knee replacement's completely exposed. So it's not, the skin's receded, and these type of things often happen when people's blood sugar's too high. Then your body can't control the infection, right? So they cut your knee open, they put new parts in, they sew you back up, and then the infection from the incision and stuff never gets under control. So, and of course, this happens to people with type 2 diabetes all the time. They get the diabetic lesions, or what's the other name for them? They basically get infections in their lower extremities that nobody else gets, and it's directly attributable to high blood sugar. And then they frequently have to have their feet and legs amputated, you know. So, which is a very sad thing. And I think people don't realize if they stop eating sugar, stop eating carbohydrates, that they can stabilize their blood sugar, bring it back to normal, and things like that don't happen. Things like that actually reverse, right?
Exactly. And yeah, it goes necrotic. So too much high blood sugar is cell death. It causes your cells to die. It really does. Just going to share screen one more time while I wrap this up. So again, the alternatives, again, ice beanie, I like it. These oftentimes sell out relatively quickly, but it's good for other things too. You know, inflammation, sports injuries, tension headaches, hangover, concussions, other headaches, migraines. It's got like 3 packs in it, and it shapes your head, and it really works. This is what my go-to now if I get a headache or something. A really hot summer day, you could also just put it on your head. You know, if you're having trouble sleeping, maybe you could wear it to bed, something like that. This is great. Back to that one company. So Migraine, like I said, there seems to be fairly good. I think it has butterbur, feverfew, and magnesium, if I remember right. Hopefully it's taken forever to load. So that's fun. I haven't taken this one. There's another one I'll show here in a minute. Free shipping. I'm looking for what's in it.
I could share that photograph if you want. That's pretty graphic.
Oh yeah, why not? Just as soon as when I'm done here for a second. It disappeared? Oh no, here it is. So supplement facts. Now the reason why, you know, I just wanted to give people an alternative, whether or not you go carnivore. Maybe you'll try out something like this and maybe reduce your migraine medication use. So PA free butterbur, I forgot why that was important, but it is. So 800 milligrams, you know, these are always proprietary. So you got some magnesium, coenzyme 10, and riboflavin, which, what was riboflavin again, Tom? Is that vitamin B2 or?
I don't remember.
If I remember right, that is a B vitamin.
I'm distracted by this picture on the other screen here.
And a great source of riboflavin is ribeye steak, or steaks in general. Riboflavin. Oh, vitamin B2, I was right. So yeah, you get a nice chunk of vitamin B2 from steak and ruminant meats. Magnesium coenzyme Q10, as I talked about before. I just want to look up Migraleaf really quick. So that's one I actually did take, and it did help. Some people say to take like fish oils and things like that, but we know the dangers of fish oils, and we'll do a video on that soon. Yeah. They're oftentimes rancid, but I took them for years. I took them for absolutely years. So this is Migraleaf, another one this one I actually did take, and it did help. I just took the original formula. I think I took the Migraleaf Now at one point as well. Ingredients. So again, you have your B2, your magnesium, and your feverfew, which all of these typically are always going to have that. The other one had coenzyme Q10, which might help people out. Now, again, these are chunky tablets. Don't know how much these actually absorb, all that stuff. I get it, but I'm just trying to give people a lot of different alternatives. And so this is something I would use. I was using essential oils that did help. Rub it on. So, you know, you don't have to buy theirs, but usually something with like lavender oil with a mint oil, something cooling.
I always wondered how they they considered something like what was that? Lavender oil. How is that essential? I mean, your body needs lavender oil and it doesn't make its own.
Who's saying it's essential?
Let's call it an essential oil. I mean, what the
Oh,
hell?
right. So spearmint, that's what I meant. So, spearmint is really, really nice. It just feels cooling. There's debates of how actually it helps. I think it just helps relieve the nervous system. The smell, oftentimes us with migraines have olfactory issues. And so our sense of smell is really, really strong. So perfumes, I remember would drive me nuts before, like instant migraine with the right perfume walked by me. And so sniffing like this or something like that helps calm that sensory overload in the nose and things like that. And spearmint is cooling. And so, yeah, that would help. I would do that before, but yeah, so that's a few different alternatives at least, but the best alternative, I don't take any of this at this time because I take the carnivore diet, salt water, ice beanie, and I'm good to go. Do you want to share that picture? You can gross out the audience.
All right, everybody, a little bit of a warning here. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So if you don't want to see something, a rather graphic,
it looks like a Terminator knee.
It does look like a Terminator knee, but here we go. Can you see it?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like a hunk of metal and the way the skin's grown through it. And yeah.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So anyways.
You could shine your teeth in his knee or like.
Shine your teeth in his knee. Okay. Not sure what that means.
You could check your teeth, like how clean.
You might have had that ice beanie on a little too long.
Maybe a little too tight, maybe.
But yeah, I guess problems like this are not uncommon in people with uncontrolled blood sugar. So feel for this poor guy.
That's stay away from the chocolate cake. Stay away from the donuts. I mean, that stuff will also give you a migraine. So not fun, not fun. So hope you guys liked this offhand presentation. I did the best I could. I tried to, I think the point got across. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I think you made a lot of good points. And I know there's a lot of people out there that suffer from migraines. So, they're always kind of, like you said, I've never heard anybody who was on migraines that had like a perfect remedy for it, whether it was pharmaceutical or herbal or whatever. So, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there looking for something better. So it's a good thing you decided to talk about it. But
thank you. Yeah.
Did a good job. So
thank you.
Anyway, so we hope people enjoyed the video. They were a little entertained by it. We threw everything at it, including the chicken sink. Mm-hmm. And you can shine your teeth in somebody's knee if you need to. So anyways, if you think somebody else would benefit from the video, send it on over to them. Help us grow the channel. Like it, subscribe it, get the alerts, the whole 9 yards. And we appreciate your comments. Maybe you'd like to talk about your remedies for migraines or your past history with migraines. You can leave us comments below.
Or other medications you want us to go over, or conditions with medications. If you like this presentation and you think that Tom can do one on psoriasis medications or arthritis medications.
Yeah, maybe we could do that. So until next time, eat some meat, feel better. Whatever you do,
don't fall down the carb hole.